Today we're going to create a flowchart for the rock, paper, scissors game. To do this, the first thing I would like you to do is create a new Lucid document. And in the upper left-hand corner, I'd like you to call this your first name, your last name, and rock, paper, scissors. That way we have it named properly. So as we've done in the past, we always start our flowcharts with a terminator, and we are going to call this begin. And I'm just going to zoom this in a little bit so you guys are able to see this a little bit better as we go. It'll be a little easier to see on your Chromebook. And I'm going to move begin over a little bit just so we have room. We will probably need to bring this back up to the beginning at some point so we have room for that arrow outside. Now, we are going to, oops, sorry about that. We are going to have the microbit actually shake. So the flow is going to go like this, and we're going to check to see, is the microbit shaken? And we'll just increase the size of this a little bit. Take that out a little bit more so it's all in there. And if you want to straighten that arrow out, you can just drag it back over so it's centered underneath. Okay, so is the microbit shaken? If the answer is yes, then we want to have a couple of different things happen. The first process is we have to create a variable, and we're going to call that variable number of games. It's going to keep track of how many games are being played, so it can display the score, how many games you won compared to the other person. So we need a total number of games that are being played. So we set number of games and we add 1 to it. After this, we follow the game down to here, and we're going to choose another variable, and this is going to be called hand, and that'll be the random number that is generated by shaking the microbit. So it's going to generate a random number. Hand is going to equal random number from 1 to 3. If the number is a 1, it's going to be a hand, or it's going to be a rock. If the number is a 2, it'll be paper, and number 3, it'll be a pair of scissors. So what we're going to do down here is going to add we're going to call it what is hand. And if hand and this isn't going to be a yes, this is going to be a 1. If it's a 1, this will be if hand is 2. And if your hand is 3. So let's look at what they're going to show. If hand is a 1, we'll put this process here. And we'll put this process here. If hand is a 1, we'll display rock on LEDs. If it's a 2, display paper on LEDs. And if it's a 3, we're going to display the scissors. Now, once it has done all of that, we're going to sort of wrap it around over to here. This will come down here like this. And we'll pull this down. And we'll have one coming out of here, which will come down to here. And what will happen is, once it displays those different things, we're going to bring this back out to the main gallery, and it's going to be, was the microbit shaken? Now, if the microbit was not shaken, then we have to have an alternative to see what would happen next. So let's see. If the microbit was not shaken, then was button A pressed? Now, if button A was pressed, what we are going to do is we are going to add to the score. So you shake the microbit. Let's say yours has a rock and the other person has scissors. We're going to press button A if you win the game. The other person won't press the button, okay, because they didn't win. So we only push button A when you win a game. So in this process, we're going to have another variable called score. And that will be equal to score plus 1. Then we're going to display LEDs, the score out of the number of games. So that will show how many you've won out of the total number of games compared to the person that you're playing with. And then this is going to come right back over to button A. So that's how we're going to keep score with this game. Now, let's suppose that button A was not pressed. So that gives us one other alternative, and that would be, is button B pressed? Now, let's say button B is pressed. Button B we're going to use to reset. So I'm going to click on my little orange tab here. If button B is pressed, what we want to have happen is we want to set the number of games equal to 0. Just going to drag this over so it looks more like an equation. We are also going to set the score to 0. Because we want to wipe it clean. And the other thing we want to do is, in wiping it clean, we want to clear the screen. And once that's happened, it's going to go back and it's going to come up to the very beginning to start again. And if button B isn't pressed, it'll go back up to the beginning as well. So there is a natural flow here, and I'm going to zoom out on this so you can see it. Things that can happen. The microbit can be shaken. If it's shaken, it's going to add 1 to the game. So it's going to keep track of how many games. It's going to generate a random number hand. If the hand is 1, it's going to show a rock. If it's a 2, it's going to show paper. If it's a 3, it's going to show scissors. Then it's going to wait. Did you win the game? If you did, you're going to push button A. Okay? And it's going to add 1 to the score. If you don't push button B, it's going to go back all the way up to the beginning. So let's say you won the first game. It's now 1 out of 1 games. Let's say this time it generates a piece of paper, but the other person had a pair of scissors. So you're not going to push button A this time because you didn't win. But it's now going to be 1 game out of 2. You won the first game, but you didn't win the second game. If you push button B, it'll reset it. But if you don't want to reset yet, you're just going to go back up to the top and play again. So this is the general flow of what should be happening. If you have any questions, email me at donald-toth@esasd.net.